Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We have an amazing show for everybody today.
Indeed, we do. I just don't know what we're going to talk about. There's not that much going on. All right, so we have Cenk Uygur to break down what is happening and not happening. We have Adam Green, who's affiliated with the Warren campaign. We've got Michael Brooks. We also have someone from Tom Steyer's camp to talk about how they're watching all this mess unfolding and looking down the road. He's been coming up at the polls quite a bit, especially in South Carolina and in Nevada, so it'll be interesting to get their take. Saagar, but let's just sort of break down where we are, what we know, what we don't know, etc.
So here's what we know, is that last night around 1 in the morning, Troy Price, the head of the Iowa Democratic Party, held an all-staff phone call with the members of the campaign. He told them results will come out, quote, later today. We don't actually know. My confidence in the Iowa Democratic Party right now is at rock bottom.
Shaken.
So based on some preliminary data, the Bernie Sanders campaign released some of their own volunteer-collected data, approximately 40% of precincts. So again, only 40% of precincts. Based on that information, it shows Sanders winning the first alignment and the second alignment. But the real story out of that one, of course, is the Pete Buttigieg being the main second choice for Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar supporters and coming in possible second. Again, only 40% of precincts. It's done by the Bernie campaign. They have every incentive in the world in order to spin it their way. The Pete Buttigieg campaign, I think, also has been indicating a very good night for them. But overall, the main story, in my view, is the complete collapse of Joe Biden's campaign. So according to that preliminary data released by the Sanders campaign, of those 40%, Biden only got 12% with Amy Klobuchar at 11% in the final alignment. That's a complete disaster. And if that holds, then that would basically show him coming in not only a fourth, but not even a strong fourth,
a weak
distant, weak, pathetic fourth.
Yeah.
I think that's the greatest missing part of this entire story. It's a massive in-kind benefit to the Biden campaign, who is already now, his deputy campaign manager was on CNN. His lawyer released a letter last night to the Iowa Democratic Party saying that they had heard there were discrepancies and all of this. Basically, nobody is going to accept the results of this thing. It's been all completely screwed up. And the media bump is gone. I'm going to be talking about that later. I really do believe that the Biden campaign is the greatest beneficiary of what happened tonight because it breeds, it at least gives them one last grasp at the apple in the New Hampshire primary.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, look, here a couple of things. So first of all, if Trump said the sort of things that Biden's team or the sort of like disinformation that Pete is putting out there right now, just blanket claim, people would lose their minds if that was going on from Donald Trump. So
democracy, wow.
Let's just say that to start with. Look, if you're the Sanders team and if it does end up being the order that, that the Sanders team is insinuating, and that also it looks like from other anecdotal data, from Dave Wasserman thinks that it looks like it was Sanders, Pete, Warren, and Biden. You could not possibly pick a better order for Bernie Sanders. Why? Well, because Pete is not really a credible candidate down the road, as we've covered extensively here. He has very little support in communities of color. So his campaign has always been reliant on this sort of magical thinking of win Iowa, fairy dust, and then result, right? And so they wanted to follow this Obama-like path of 2008, where an Iowa surge turns into something different down the road. It's never looked like that was actually realistic for Pete, but that's why they're leaning so hard into trying to claim a victory that they probably, in all likelihood, did not actually win. So that's why it's good for Pete to be number two if you're a Sanders supporter. And then obviously, look, Biden has been the main adversary. He has been so resilient in the polls, in the national polls, still leading in the Real Clear Politics national average, still leading in South Carolina, still doing well in Super Tuesday in the South, et cetera. But what does he need? He needs money. So even though he doesn't get the media narrative today of Biden's campaign crashing, which is a gift to him, his donors know very well what's going on.
That's true.
You can tell from his campaign posture. I mean, they are not, whereas Pete and Sanders are touting these results and they want to get the results and they want to tout what happened there, Biden's saying, let's look down the road. This was an unfair process. Let's just put it behind us and try to move forward.
Every professional person in politics is looking at those numbers and going like, oh my God, Joe Biden, right? So like maybe the media narrative didn't come out. I will say a couple of very interesting things. So turnout, according to the Iowa Democratic Caucus, was on par with 2016. That's very bad for Democrats, actually. 172,000 around is where it was in 2016. Not even close to the 200,000 number that we saw in 2008 with Obama, and some were even predicting at 300,000.
Yeah.
I was talking with you during the break about this, Krystal. I think that it's because of impeachment. I think that people are so fed up with how annoying the national political process is that this whole resist narrative that we saw out of, with the 2018 midterms and all of that, that what the media and the National Democratic Party has chosen to focus on is clearly not resonating to a point with the base. And so that is a huge gift to Donald Trump. I mean, we're seeing Trump right now, they're having a field day, as they should. I mean, it's hilarious, being like, oh my God, these people want to.
It's a disaster.
These people want to run your healthcare system, and they can't even run a voting ballot.
I will say Bernie Sanders' app appeared to work very well. So there's
the counterpoint. But it's a good thing for the Republican Party right now. Is looking at this and just being like, A, is in disarray, and B, the worst thing that could happen to Trump is massive turnout, right? And so the fact that turnout was at 172,000 or on par, that's a huge red siren for the Democratic Party.
Well, and let's throw up what you've been talking about. The campaign coverage leading into this caucus has been basically non-existent.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this later, but it's about
much less 10 minutes of nightly campaign coverage this time around as compared to 86 minutes last time around in 2016. It's no wonder that turnout would be low. Now, let's caveat, these numbers are coming from the Iowa Democratic Party, so take them with a grain of salt. But there are indicators that turnout was not through the roof as many campaigns were hoping and anticipating. And I think you're absolutely right. We shouldn't be surprised when the media and the Democratic Party has been focused on something that voters don't really care about, that's not central to their lives. We talk about it time and time again on this show. Candidates are not getting questions about impeachment on the trail. It's not voters' top concern. They want to know about health care. They want to know about jobs. They want to know about climate change. And so the fact that the media has and the Democratic establishment has overwhelmingly fixated on this thing that they really don't care that much about, that's going to lead to some depressed turnout.
Let's think about it. What swung 2018? Healthcare. It was the Trump administration, Paul Ryan's attempt in order to repeal the Affordable Care Act. That was it. Every single Democrat, every Republican who lost, they're like, what screwed you? They're like, healthcare, man. Healthcare. That vote for healthcare, that's what did me in. Martha McSally said she couldn't go anywhere without being talked about healthcare. So guess what they decided to focus on in 2020? Impeachment. And you temporarily held up Ukrainian military aid and not giving any coverage to the actual candidates themselves who are talking about health care. This is what happens.
All right. We have a lot more for you in the show, but we're going to tell you what's on our radars. That is next.